Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Cocoa in the Sun podcast. Today, we're continuing with the Hathor material, Messages from an Ascended Civilization by Tom Kenyon and Virginia Essene. In the last episode, we did the introduction and we started chapter 1. So today, we're going to try to finish chapter 1, see if we can get to chapter 2. Okay, to put on my glasses. Hope everyone is well. I haven't really have any clear messages recently. Well, I do, but they're like personal messages, and I'm still trying to figure them out. So I don't think it's, it's obvious enough to share with people because I'm still working it out. I wanted to say that it feels like a new era. Like it feels like we've entered a new place or transitioned somewhere new. It feels good. Intuitively good though. How it's playing out in this density is another question. But it feels good. It feels good, So trying to focus there on the feeling inside, not look too much on what's going on the outside. So that it can reflect. I will say though, when you are trying to change your reality or create the life that you want, there's a transitional period. It's transitional. And how long that period is, I don't know. I'm finding out. And yeah, but I've been looking at a few videos and stuff, and so I guess for some people it could be instantaneous, but for me, it seems to be integrated. So it feels like I'm in a new place. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. But time will tell. So, what was the last thing I read here? I'm trying to see. I'm sorry. You hear my digestion. Okay, I think I read this. About the androgynous merging of the masculine and feminine. That was the last thing they were talking about. So, okay, so Virginia is seen now. So in chapter 1, they've introduced themselves. Virginia is seen as asking them questions. The last question she asked them and they answered was to clarify the aspect of the feminine principle, this feminine, creative, fertile quality that the name Hathor seems to imply, and they explain about it. They talk about the goddess Hathor being associated with the sky and a fertility goddess. That's no accident that her name, and there's a similar that they seeded and assisted the early symbol of the feminine mystery and stuff like that, and how we're coming into the feminine reawakening, and that it would be a balanced principle, not totally feminine, not totally masculine, but an androgynous merging of the two in balance. Okay, and so Virginia says, if I understood what you said about the feminine principle, does this also have to be applied throughout the solar system, or is it primarily a focus only on Earth? And the Hathors respond, this is applied throughout the solar system. but at varying times. It is crucial to what is happening on Earth at this moment. You see, there are two parallel processes. Earth as a consciousness is going through her own elevation, a change of herself. So all organisms, not just human, but plants and animal as well, are being affected. These are all going through their own individual processes to align with Earth's shift into a higher vibratory field. The rest of the solar system is also going through a process of changing vibratory fields because your sun is shifting. However, Earth specifically is going through a unique process that is not being experienced by the other planets at this exact time. That is why there are beings from many dimensions and other realms who are stationed around Earth on planets, asteroids, and interdimensional spaces to observe what is going on. It is so unique. So again, just like the Palladians in Bringers of the Dawn, they're basically saying a lot of beings are here watching from different aspects of the universe and different universes, that what's going on Earth is major. It's a major thing. It's a unique thing. It's something they all want to experience and see. Virginia, I would like to know how Earth and Venus are connected here in the solar system. Was there once a singular consciousness above and beyond those of the physical planetary spheres that we call Venus and Earth? Could you comment on our prior and current relationships with them? The Hathors. Think of Venus as Earth's elder sister. In the formless period before the planets were actually created, the seeds or the subtle vibration of these planets already existed. And there were thought forms and beings moving through these spaces. Sorry. At that time, the planets of Earth and Venus were intimately connected. Okay, so before there were actual forms, there were seeds or subtle vibrations and thought forms and beings moving through these spaces. At that time, the planets of Earth and Venus were intimately connected. So before they were formed, but they were like seeds and thoughts and vibrations, they were connected. They formed a pulsating movement of energy, very much like an infinity sign. So Venus and Earth, from their conception, were connected. They are sister planets. Those of us near Venus who are doing our own work and our own evolution into greater understanding are deeply connected to Earth. Thus, we are committed to assist you, and it is our joy to help those beings who have decided to incarnate on this beautiful planet Earth, as well as to aid the planet herself as she begins to ascend in her own process. Virginia, I see. We who have studied various metaphysical teachings about the planet Venus have heard the name Sanat Kumara and would like to acknowledge that being and the energies of his teaching from an earlier time period. Is this to be part of any of your material, Hathors? We did not plan to discuss our brother Sanat Kumara, but we know him well for it was he who asked us to enter this universe. Sanat Kumara is an ancient soul who's part of an intergalactic council known as the White Brotherhood. The term white does not refer to skin color, but rather a state of purity. As an ascended master, Sanat Kumara has taken on numerous responsibilities associated with the elevation of planet Earth and this solar system. He has been involved in this task for millennia. He is untiring in his dedication to this realm, and he is known throughout the universe for his powerful magnetic presence. We are quite fond of him especially since he has a most wonderful sense of humor. He's working with the ascension, the evolution of consciousness in the solar system as we are. His home, if you wish to cite a physical location, would be Venus. Hold on. Sorry. So his home would be Venus. But his presence extends throughout many dimensions, as you are aware. The methods that he uses are in harmony with everything that we plan to reveal in this book. We do not plan to discuss his work or his approach, however, since that would be something deserving of his own message, his own sharing, if you will. So, Virginia, in other words, there is a companionship of purpose among the higher Venusian energies already established. The Hathors, yes. Virginia, we would then like to know if your Venusian experience is related in any way to Sirius planet B or other galactic areas beyond our solar system, and also to Egypt as suggested by the word Osiris, Isis, and many other Egyptian concepts and words. Oh, this is going to be a long answer, y'all. I'm sorry, Hathors. We will offer our responses to specific questions in that regard, although the material that we have planned for this book does not address that. We are attempting to bring forth practical tools and an understanding that will serve as keys of remembrances and signatures to those who will read the words and recall many things. We desire our information to serve everyone in their own evolution and ascension. But we are open to discussing any questions you have about our history, our background. To answer your question in regard to Sirius, there is a direct connection between Venus and Sirius, and the connection is that we originally came from Sirius after entering the universe. So I really like Sirius. When I look at like all the different personalities of the galactics, I feel like my personality is one that would be Syrian. But I think like they're all related. One seed one, who see the next, who see the next. So either way, like they're all related most times. So I don't really like, stress or like identify particularly, but I do have a lot of interest in the Syrians. Okay. So the Hathors originally came from Sirius after entering the universe. The Egyptian gods to which you refer, such as Osiris and Isis, would best be described in your terminology as force fields, energy patterns of awareness, and vast consciousness. These energies are anthropomorphized. Oh, this is such a big word for me. These energies were anthropomorphized by humans in the Egyptian period as Osiris, Isis, and so on. So the Egyptian pantheon is actually a picture, if you will, of force fields that move through the universe. We would therefore encourage you in these modern times, when you contemplate the Egyptian pantheon, not to take it literally, for the literal understanding was given to the lesser minds of the period. Understand instead that all teachings are on multiple levels, so that what was taken literally by the less evolved consciousness of earlier times was understood by the high priesthood to be symbolic of energies of force fields that moved. Of course, your understanding of these energies was different from your present times, but essentially, the energy of Isis and Osiris still remains active and is open to all. This is true of all the pantheon. They are aspects of the one source. The one creative force is all there is, and there are simply aspects or streams of consciousness that move out of the one source. So again, it is best to understand that these pantheon deities are benevolent forces that can be aligned with, but they are not the Godhead. They are not the ultimate source, which is without all duality or polarity. Virginia. Regarding the Hathor influence in ancient Egypt, you didn't give an approximate date counting backwards from the birth of Christ Jesus. Would this be 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 years or more? It would be longer than that. But in terms, this is the Hathors. Okay, the Hathors are responding. It would be longer than that, but in terms of the traces that are left in Egyptian history, we go to the period before the pharaohs, before Heliopolis, to the time when the sky goddess was Hathor and the sky god was Horus. The location in sequential time would be approximately 10,000 BC, nearly 12,000 years ago. Virginia, the Egyptian period, Hathors, the Egyptian period. However, we have worked with this planet prior to that. The Egyptian period is simply one cultural expression of the mystery. The mystery is transcultural and it extends beyond all times and all places. So we work through those cultures and those belief systems that we encounter. Virginia, who are able and willing to communicate with you? Hathors, yes. As ascended beings, we are able to traverse wide areas and interact with numerous civilizations. At times, we may make contact with only a few individuals. At other times, as in ancient Egypt, we contact and work with thousands. Although some of the information we bring has been preserved in the Egyptian esoteric or hidden teachers, most of our knowledge has yet to be communicated to mankind. Virginia, thank you. In terms of Egyptian history then, did the Hathors have anything to do with the building of the Great Pyramid of Egypt? She's asking some questions. The Hathors. So did she just ask them if they helped with the Great Pyramid of Egypt? So the Hathors are responding. No, we did not. Regarding the pyramids, they were not merely burial chambers, as some of your historians and archaeologists believe. Although many of them actually had burial chambers within them, their primary function was as oscillators of energy. And because the sides of the pyramids originally were burnished, highly polished granite like marble, this was caused the pyramid to oscillate energy and receive energies. Initiates would enter the pyramid as designated areas that were laid out in specific mathematical ratios. This permitted them to receive understandings of the great universe and the great mystery that they could not have achieved if they were not in such a matrix of energy. So that was one level. Another function of the pyramids was energetic. The pyramids were installed in specific mathematical ratios externally to facilitate the creation of a gridwork. This energetic gridwork on the planet was laid for the express purpose of holding the next grid, what is now called the Christ grid, which came into existence when your teacher, known as Jesus of Nazareth, dedicated his efforts. So when this being entered into his work, the grid that was established by the pyramids supported the new vibration, and that vibrational Christ grid continues to strengthen to this day. So the pyramids were multi-level and multi-purpose devices. Virginia, I know from being in Guatemala that there are literally hundreds of pyramids scattered through Central America and Mexico, but people don't even know they are there. Yes, the Hathors replied. They are covered with jungle. Virginia, so are you saying that these pyramids are positioned around the planet at various points? Hathors, yes, but it was not done by one specific civilization. It was done by many different civilizations, but all beings and civilizations that participated in their constructions were deeply connected with their intuition and their understanding of the great mystery. And they understood energetically what they were doing. But there was no joining together under one chief architect, nor was there a meeting of the chief architects in time of three-dimensional space. This was all done in these various locations, but obviously drawing from the same source. They also had outside help. Virginia asking, from space? Hathors, yes, from the Palladians and Syrians, etc. Virginia, so are we saying that at some point the extraterrestrials worked together, or that they came at different times? Hathors, they came at different times. Some of the times overlapped. There is an interesting oddity in your history that can be traced back to the Syrians. In modern Africa, there's a tribe known as the Dogon. This tribe has knowledge about Sirius and its smaller sister. This smaller star was not discovered until the 1960s by your astronomers, but the Dogon have known of it for thousands of years. This knowledge comes from their interaction with the Syrians who came to Africa thousands of years ago as part of their investigation of this planet. The Syrians were, by that time, a highly advanced intergalactic civilization. Virginia, thank you. I'd like to be clear that your choices to assist us were not because of previous misdeeds that had to be corrected. The Hathors, misdeeds on whose parts? Virginia, yours and others. Sometimes visitors come from another place and they do things that later perhaps were not in the best interest of the developing consciousness. Hathors. Oh, that. Laughter. Yes, there were misdeeds done on this planet, and that is one reason we were called through the portal of Sirius to this solar system to be your guardians. The elder brothers and sisters. Guardians may not be the right term because some may think that because we are here, you do not have to take responsibility. And that is not what we mean. We mean that we hold we mean that we hold a certain vibration that is helpful for you as a human civilization, and that vibration is held constant for your support. Virginia, you mentioned that you originally came to Sirius. Could you say more about that? The Hathors. Sirius is a portal from other dimensions of the universe, which may be difficult to comprehend in terms of three-dimensional space because the portal leads to a non-physical dimensional space that is our true home. Non-physical dimensional space is a difficult concept for beings living in three dimensions. It would be like the period at the end of a sentence, a two-dimensional space, trying to comprehend the paper on which it appears and the space surrounding the being that is looking at it. It simply does not have a reference point from its own experience to understand anything higher or more complex than two dimensions. Nevertheless, we entered this three-dimensional reality through Sirius. Sirius is a kind of nexus point for your universe, where the strands of your space-time continuum meet and intersect with non-physical hyperspace. This is indeed a strange concept, and we could spend a long time discussing it. Since that is not the purpose of this book, let's just say that non-physical hyperspace is a kind of matrix within the universal consciousness itself. As consciousness creates a universe, it does so by polarizing itself into a nexus point, which becomes a physical location in space, which in turn begins to process, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? I'm going to start over that sentence. As consciousness creates a universe, it does so by polarizing itself into a nexus point, which becomes a physical location in space, which in turn begins the process you call time. Our true home, if you will, is non-physical hyperspace. However, as we entered this three-dimensional universe, our first physical home was in the Sirius system. From there, we traveled to Venus to be closer to Earth. Virginia. When you came around 12,000 years ago, what? Okay, I don't know why those balloons went up. When you came around 12,000 years ago, what would have been, that would have been after the fall of Atlantis? Hathors, yes, 10,000 BC was after the fall of Atlantis. At this time, we were actively working in Egypt through the archetypal image of Hathor. We had also, however, worked with a few highly developed individuals, seers, in both Atlantis and Lemuria. When it became clear that Atlantis and Lemuria would fall, we guided some of these individuals into Egypt. This was done to protect the great work of alchemy so that the knowledge and the line of initiates would be protected from devastation. We were not the only intergalactic culture to seed Egypt, by the way. The Arcturians and the Palladians also guided some of their human initiates into northern Africa at this time. This is still chapter 1. Yeah. Virginia. And when you say you worked with people, what does that mean? Hathors. We are masters of sound, energy, and love. In relation to humans, we work primarily through the feeling nature, what you might call the emotional body. As masters of interdimensional space, we can contact humans quite easily. Contact will usually be experienced by you in clairaudient voice transmissions, clairvoyant seeing, visions, intuitions, and appearances in dreams. We made contact with the early Egyptians through the goddess HATOR, which they experienced through mystical visions. Through the cult of the goddess, we were able to help the Egyptians create a spiritual golden age, which culminated in the creation of the mystery schools. Through these esoteric encounters, we were able to assist with the training of initiates, a positive influence which spread throughout the world. The influence of these mystery schools is still active in the world, we might add. Some of these schools are hidden, although some of them are becoming public again. The ways in which we work vary, but most often, one or more of us makes psychic contact with an individual human and begins to instruct him or her according to her understanding. We never impose ourselves. When asked to assist, we will do so, but only within set guidelines. These guidelines ensure that we will not interfere with human choice or destiny. Sorry. I'm having a difficult time today. I don't know why. Okay, let me take a breather. Have you had relationships with the Palladians or beings from Orion or other so-called outposts of the human family? Sorry, guys. Hathors. Yes, we know the Palladians, the Syrians, the Orions, the Arcturians. We know others who you do not have names for yet, and we say yet because this will change since you're becoming a galactic and intergalactic humanity. That would be so cool. To become intergalactic, the humans as humans. Understand that each of these groups has a distinct flavor, a personality. Be they the Palladians, the Syrians, etc. So every cultural group has its own specific bent, flavor, personality as they view and operate through the great mystery. And may we say these differences give us sincere pleasure. We are intrigued by the differences, by all the levels of the great universe, and this is one reason why we are so intrigued and in love with humans. Virginia, and that's because Hathors, of their extreme diversity, their differences, their connection that runs deep to the roots of the great universe through their heart, through their emotional being. Yet, during the incarnation, they find themselves in a paradoxical situation. In many ways, much more difficult than those of us who are at an ascended level. Why? Because they live in a three-dimensional reality, and their senses tell them that things are limited, finite, constricted. Indeed, their senses cannot show them the truth of the great universe as we perceive it, because their senses are landlocked in this three-dimensional reality. And yet their spirit knows and yearns and is connected to the greater reality, the greater mystery. And so to us, and that to us is something most intriguing, as it is for many other beings in other realms. It is something we cherish and honor in humans. Wow. So we basically humans live in this 3D dimension where everything is limited, but our spirits know things are not limited. So we're like, well, I know I'm seeing this, but I know I'm feeling this. So how is this? How are we supposed to reconcile this? Because I'm saying my feeling telling me, we are more than this, but this reality isn't showing me this. That is, that's kind of like what I was talking about before. Like, it feels like I'm in a different period. It feels like we're in a different period. But the reality doesn't appear to have changed. But it feels different inside, right? So it's like, time will tell. Virginia, thank you for that. Could you comment a little bit about okay, let me read over again. Virginia, thank you for that. Could you comment a little about your relationship to the solar system in general? You know, we have three smaller planets near Earth. Those we call the inner planets, which are Mercury, Mars, and Venus. And then we have those so-called further out physical planets of the solar system. Could you give us any background or comment about the settlements on Mercury or Mars? And of course, you've mentioned your own settlements in Venus, which I presume were physical at one point. Hathors. This is such a, like, a lot of information, I guess. It's good, right? Hathors, yes. As to Mars, you'll see remnants of the physical structures that they built above ground. There is something you refer to as the face on Mars. That is actually a structure that existed. There were structures on Venus also, but the settlements on Venus were much older than the ones on Mars, so they are gone. If you go to Venus three-dimensionally, you will see nothing but gases and sand, a very inhospitable place. Mars still has the remnants of the physical structures, and there were cultures that lived there. Mars was actually an outpost for many different cultures. Virginia, was there one primary outpost in recent times? Hathors, let us say this. The history presented to humans by their own sciences is extremely narrow and limited in their perspective, and does not have all the pieces of the puzzle. For advanced cultures did exist prior to the early stages of man on this planet. In fact, when man was still very primitive, there were highly advanced intergalactic space-traveling civilizations who would come to the solar system on a regular basis to observe the emerging phenomena of life on planet Earth. They would make their outposts in various positions, Mars and Venus being the primary ones. There were also energetic outposts. This is a different way of looking at things. They are beings who are pure energy, and so refined that you would call them ephemeral because they have no form, no mass. Therefore, in the presence of large bodies like Jupiter, they would be relatively unaffected by the gravitational field. So there were beings that also had outposts on Jupiter and Saturn, but these were energetic and ephemeral beings and not physical beings like those who came to Mars and Venus. Virginia. So was Mercury ever an outpost of any kind? Hathors, yes. But that was an energetic, ephemeral culture. They were being specifically able to live off of stellar gas and light. They were very attracted to birthing stars because they fed off them, to use a human term. They drew light and energy as do all things, but they were specifically attracted like moths to a flame. They were drawn wherever new stars were birthed, and so they existed as an ephemeral, energetic civilization. They existed, sorry. And so they existed as an ephemeral, energetic civilization. But there were and are some physical three-dimensional structures on Mars. Most traces of them are gone from Venus, but there are still some structures on Mars which was once a part of Earth long ago. Since the Hathors are especially active in the Egyptian time, what do you think the greatest result of that influence was for humanity? Since the Hathors, okay, I get tired today, Hathors. We believe our greatest influence to be that of holding for humanity the harmonic of divine love and unconditional acceptance. We also feel that our unique understanding of consciousness has been highly beneficial to mankind. The esoteric teachings we seeded through Egyptian alchemy have spread throughout the world and into numerous other cultures, finding root in India, China, and Tibet. The essence of our teachings, as well as the teachings of other intergalactic and interdimensional civilizations, become incorporated by these cultures as they absorbed the secret teachings of Egypt. You will thus see many parallels between diverse systems of alchemy as expressed through these cultures. Though the language and metaphors of these various systems differ, there are striking similarities. Probably the most potent of our teachings, handed down through these various traditions, concerns the life force and how to strengthen and elevate it. This understanding, along with our holding the harmonic of love, may be our two greatest contributions to mankind. Virginia, such things are fascinating. Thank you. So, in terms of your coming to aid humans on planet Earth, I understand you're here to give practical advice, not just information. Incidentally, in case we do see any of you, could you please describe what the Hathor looks like today? And if our few ancient relics and representations of you found in Egypt are accurate. Hathors. Well, in my opinion, we are very beautiful, striking beings, but we do have individual differences. We are generally 10 to 14 of your feet tall. Some are taller and some are shorter, and we have rather large heads. We have large ears, and we have hair that is pulled back in a stylized fashion, which you see in the sculpture shown on this book's cover. We have long hands and long limbs because we are quite tall by Earth standards. As I indicated earlier, our true form is light as yours is. But as our awareness moves into a denser level of beingness, our light body will take physical form. In our physical form, we take the shape described above. The ancient artisans of Egypt had various levels of understanding about our appearance, depending on whether or not they were actually in direct communication with us and could sense us clairvoyantly. During the early times of the Egyptian period, before the pharaohs especially, we actually moved on the earth, and those who were working with Hathor energy could see us. We were physically present clairvoyantly, meaning that we would move around the earth, interacting consciously with others. But we can only be seen by the humans with clairvoyant sight. We would not have actual physical form as you know it, but it was so close that we could almost say that we did have physical form here on earth. Certain superior artisans who were clearly aware of us did sculpt us, and some of these fairly accurate representations appeared on the temple walls and on the columns, especially at the tops of columns. Over time, as the density of the planet increased, the human beings were less able to see us clairvoyantly, so they had to rely on things handed down from earlier times. Then the later artisans who were not directly in communication with us as in earlier times would stylize their own renditions. Virginia, in terms of genetics then, our Hathors, humanoid, Hathors. We are humanoid, but our DNA has 12 strands. Virginia, Since your ears are apparently very sensitive to sound, can you explain how sound became so important to you? What you call sound is to us the primary vibration of the realm, and we will clarify sound as a vibration not limited to physical sound heard by human ears. When we say sound, we mean vibration, which can occur in a vacuum. Sound, as you define it in your physics, can only occur when there is a medium to carry vibration. So sound in our understanding is the ultimate nature and foundation of all reality, which is vibratory in nature. In other words, matter is simply vibration at a certain harmonic. Consequently, as one shifts the harmonics, one can move out of matter into energy, and one can go back and forth freely when one understands how to do this. The ships that we originally used for space exploration and for entering the solar systems are based on sound and vibration. It is a very ancient understanding in our culture and goes back to our roots. We have known this and operated this way for millennia. Virginia. So now that we have an introduction to your group, is there anything else that any of your group would like to say before we complete chapter 1? The Hathors. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to our brothers and sisters in human form who have come to this planet at this time to pass through the great portal of change and shift to a new dimension of consciousness. Knowing as we do how difficult this is, how challenging, but also how rewarding, we stand on the other side of time, as it were, with our arms outstretched to welcome you into the intergalactic realms, into the subtler realms of life. We bring this material to you in greatest humility, with the hope that it may be of service to you. If something can be used by you, so be it. If the things we share do not touch you, then pass them by. Whatever your choice, we honor you at this moment, which is charged with opportunities for an evolutionary unfolding that has not been seen in the universe since the beginning of time. Virginia, thank you very much. We are grateful for your concern and support. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 1, which was on. And then I guess the next episode will be chapter 2. Which also appears to be long. Trying to see if I could be able to reach chapter 2. Now we'll break it down. Oh, okay. Chapter 2 is pretty long. Yeah, so next episode we'll do chapter 2. Probably have to break it up into 2 parts, I'm thinking. But there we have it, chapter 1 with the Hathors explaining who they are, the different energies that exist, some of the different beings, the intergalactics, where they originated from, one-dimensional hyperspace, the balancing of the feminine and masculine aspects, what we are, that we're in this limited reality, but we know things are limitless, so we are trying to figure out how to deal with that. We found out about Venus, Mars, Mercury, and the different type of beings and outposts and all the different types of planets out there. So it was a pretty good chapter 1, I think, and what they look like and how they communicated, so. And we found some things out about the Egyptian mystery schools and how they taught and the stuff that they still see here, such as, I think they said that divine love and unconditional understanding or unconditional acceptance, something else. I can't remember. But anyways, pretty good opening chapter. So next episode, we will start chapter 2 and see how far we get with that. So I'm going to tell everyone, I hope you know you are loved and that you are loved and you are gentle with yourself to navigate this world we're living in. I hope you have a great day, guys. Bye.